Hi everyone and welcome back to the George Collection. I'm Rachel with Right Side Blonde. Today I wanted to read you the editor's letter from August of 1996 written by John Kennedy Jr. So here we go. There's something about a national convention that makes it as fascinating as a revival or a hanging. It is vulgar, it is stupid, it is tedious. And then suddenly there comes a show so gaudy and hilarious, so melodramatic and obscene, so unimaginably exhilarating and preposterous that one lives a gorgeous year in an hour. H.L. Mencken. There have been many memorable speeches made at national political conventions. Mine wasn't one of them. In 1988, I was asked to introduce Senator Kennedy's speech before a packed hall. At that hour, virtually everything that goes on at the podium is orchestrated for the benefit of the TV audience. I kept waiting for the clamor of 11,000 celebrants to die down so I could begin my speech, a clamor you can't hear if you're just watching on television. Thank you, pause. Thank you, smile, pause. Thank you, wave and pause. On and on until out of the corner of my eye I saw the bug-eyed podium manager wildly gesticulating a go sign and I lurched into my remarks. By then it was probably too late. The folks at home must have thought that either my brain or the teleprompter had locked and hit the mute button. The fallout could have been much worse. Earlier that day, an up-and-coming young governor named Bill Clinton had given a speech so dry and interminable that the line, "and in conclusion," brought down the House. Those wrinkles notwithstanding, conventions are usually defined by moments of memorable oratory, undiminished by the presence of TV cameras. William Jennings Bryan electrified the 1896 Democratic Convention with his Cross of Gold speech opposing the gold standard. "You shall not crucify mankind upon a cross of gold." Franklin Roosevelt accepted his nomination at the 1932 convention with the now famous peroration, "I pledge myself to a new deal for the American people." And one didn't need floor seats at the 1984 convention to be moved by Jesse Jackson's assertion that his constituency was the damned, the disinherited, the disrespected, and the despised. While it's certainly true that numerous changes, notably television, have fundamentally altered the nature of conventions, pundits have been predicting death by technology for ages. It's a relic, a critic noted, of conventions more than a half-century ago. It cannot survive the radio. National conventions will survive television and the internet just as they survived radio because they continue to play a vital role in American political life. They're messy and dramatic at times, somniferous at others. But our political parties consist of competing and sometimes conflicting interests that are forced to find common ground. And while it's easy to be cynical about all the flag waving and political rhetoric, in the end, conventions provide an institutional device for fulfilling our national motto, E pluribus unum, from many, one. This issue will, for the first time in the magazine's short history, be followed by another a month later, another a month after that, and so on. We never thought we'd get here so fast. So to all of you who have helped us and stayed with us, thank you. John Kennedy. One thing I love about reading these letters is that John Kennedy Jr.'s personality shines through. Obviously he was extremely famous, but he was also a human being. He was extremely down to earth and funny. He had no trouble poking fun at himself, and I think that's really rare for someone of his status. He never took himself too seriously, and I think a lot of politicians could learn a thing or two by reading some of these letters. Just saying. Americans are craving authentic, genuine people to lead them, not the polished politicians that we're used to in the past. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future and if we can get some more authenticity out of our future politicians. Let's pray we can. That does it for this week's episode of the George Collection. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.
George, which is a hoot of a magazine. I thought you were a lawyer.
I was.
What happened?
Well, we We decided, I mean, actually taking a cue from folks like yourself and you around the 1992 election, that there was an opportunity here to change the definition of a political magazine. Certainly the way Americans were accessing information about politics and politicians was changing. Candidates were appearing on late-night talk shows, on talk radio, on sitcoms, and there was a kind of a leveling process, and while the rest of media clearly had caught up with that, we felt that political magazines per se hadn't.
Your mother was a hell of an editor at Doubleday.
That's what I hear.
Would she have liked George?
I think she would have.